What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in on a snowy Friday. Hope you're staying cozy. Hope you're staying warm. Cameron's working today. Brandon's camera is working today. Apparently my words are not. Brandon on the other side. Stephen Priest Jr. here. We got a lot to get into today. NBA stuff. Obviously, first preseason game is tonight between the Blazers and the Sacramento Kings. The Nuggets get going tomorrow. Golly, I was about to be a bad start too. Nuggets get going tomorrow against, I think it's the Warriors. Cam says Cameron's Branda is working today. Yeah, it's just Branda's working today. I don't know. Cameron's Branda. The Nuggets play the Warriors tomorrow. Their first preseason game, 7 p.m. Brandon will not be able to watch, so I apologize for you. I will watch for you.
Hey. I find ways. I find ways. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Better hope we don't have a Fed that's listening or watching to the pod.
Hey,
so
it may or may not be illegal. It's fine. I find ways. Whether it's going to someone else's house or finding other.
If you have to say may or may not, then there's a lot of gray area that leaves it up for interpretation. Because if it was illegal, you would just say it's legal. Right?
It is.
It's like saying what I'm injecting into my veins may or may not be legal, but it gives me some peace.
Hey, I find ways. To watch it, whether it's highlights,
Right.
YouTube, going over to someone's house.
Yeah. Okay. I believe you. Totally believe you.
Getting a streaming service. One of those like YouTube TV or Hulu TV.
He has to go to like a Chinese VPN just to circle back across the globe just to watch it. That's what he has to do. That's funny. But no, the Nuggets played tomorrow night, so super excited for that. Also, ESPN put out their top 100 NBA players list.
That's
three
for
Denver Nuggets.
That's for that when I saw that list, I was like, what the hell is going on? But that's for what they're projecting for next year, for this upcoming season.
Oh, that's a projection.
It's not like where they are at right now. It's like where they think they're gonna be at. So it's a projection.
Dumb.
That's why
it's a projection list.
That's why MPJ is at 51, because other than that reason, it makes zero sense.
Well, I think the top 10 does.
Yeah, but I think the top. Yeah,
I like the parts, but not the players.
Yeah, I mean, I think the top 10 is always pretty accurate going into every year. Because you're not going to say Zion's going to be a top 10 player going into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's your top 10 is your top 10. I think where it gets crazy, though, is where you start to see first and second year players kind of pop up in that list. When they really didn't do that, when they didn't do anything last year. MPJ, Zion. Even Jamal's at 21. I think he has a lot more to prove to get to 21. So that's where I think that's where I had to like really read it, because it's more of a projection and what they think is going to happen. And if the Nuggets have number 10, number 21, number 51, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. So I'll take it.
Yeah, they're in good shape. But we'll talk about that. We'll give our own top 10 list. I gave mine before ESPN released it, and I had the players right. Just the rankings were a little bit wonky in terms of where they had guys, at least so I thought. And, of course, it'll give me a chance to vent on why. See, now I can't even be mad at them because it's a projection list. I thought it was just like, we think Zion's the 19th best player. And I was like, what? I was like that little emotion, that red emotion from that Pixar movie where his brain just explodes with fire. I was losing it. But, well, I guess I can't even hate on that. But we'll give our list as well. Preview the Nuggets season, expectations there. But first, we got to talk about the Denver Broncos, because there's still a season to be played, and there's still, unfortunately, 4 more games to try and trudge through. Even though the Broncos might actually win this game this week. So the Carolina Panthers are fielding their JV team outside of their quarterback, and the Broncos will have a great chance to win that. But I want to talk about, before we get to the game itself, who specifically is under more pressure, do you think, this week? Pat Shurmur or Drew Lock? Because in my mind, with 4 games left,
It's Drew
Pat
Lock.
Shurmur has put out yet another bad offense, which a lot of Denver Broncos fans don't realize that coming into this job. Like, Pat Shurmur was like average, literally average at best as an offensive coordinator. He was only a part of like 2 offenses that were really good. That was that Minnesota Vikings fluke year with Case Keenum. We saw how that worked out with Case here, and that year with Chip Kelly in Philadelphia. I think his first year with Chip in Philly, which that offense was, super hurry up and super quick, and it was successful, at least for that season. Outside of that, he didn't do squat with the Browns. He didn't do squat with the Giants. I mean, his offenses have been, bad, if not average at best. So you have Pat Shurmur, who's possibly coaching for his job, as he's put out another bad product offensively. And then you have a guy in Drew Lock, who now you're 4 games to go. You haven't put together 4 quarters at all this season. You've had nice moments. You've had nice throws. But ultimately, your team's still a losing football team. You've also missed time because of injury. So now that's your 3rd injury of record, I believe, because he had the hand issue, the shoulder, or maybe it's just 2. But you have that because you missed time, and it doesn't seem like you're wildly getting better each week, even though there's people out there that are defending it. And I saw a guy, I think his name is Tim Jenkins, who broke down Locke's performance last week and said he's actually getting better. He could possibly be a franchise quarterback, and he's showing the signs that he could be. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know.
My eyes aren't telling me that, but
yeah,
okay.
And he picked like 3 plays that show him that, and I'm like, oh, okay, but what about like the 47 other snaps that that didn't show him looking like that? Like, he's saying now we're nitpicking the bad stuff. Well, okay, if you only had 3 plays to choose from, it's like, well, are we nitpicking the good stuff too? So I don't know. To me, I'm not a football savant. Neither of us are. We don't hover over film and break down film. But to me, it just doesn't feel like Drew Lock is a franchise guy. So ultimately, you have Drew Lock, you have Pat Shurmur. Which one do you think is under more pressure this weekend?
Drew Lock. He's playing. Drew Lock over these last 4 games. He's playing for really his career. If he ever wants to be a starting quarterback, this is it. Pat Shurmur will get another job somewhere else. So Pat Shurmur's been around a long time. He knows a lot of coaches. He'll find something. But yeah, no, this is it for Drew Lock, because if it doesn't work in Denver, he's a backup quarterback the rest of his career. And is he okay with that? I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. You get paid millions of dollars to just kind of hang out. So, it's not the worst job in the world. So I'd take it. But yeah, if he wants to be a starting quarterback, this is his last chance.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think he's really, and maybe it could be a situation where it's like maybe a team gives him a chance. Like some team will probably give Sam Darnold a chance when they ultimately move on from him in New York. But no, I agree with you. I do think this is Lock's last chance. If I had to choose one, yeah, I think it would be Drew Lock, because like you said, I mean, it's a good old boys network in the NFL. Pat Shurmur is likely to get another job somewhere. He might have to get knocked down to like a quarterback's coach, but likely work his way back up to an OC, or maybe there will be some team out there that'll hire him as an OC, and bless your heart if you do that. I mean, your offense is not going to do squat. 3 wide, baby. Let's go. Interceptions all day. That's what we're looking for. But I would say Drew Lock as well. Which one do you think is more likely to be here next year, if you had to choose one?
Oh, I think Lock will be here. Honestly, I think both will be here. I don't think the Broncos change anything, unless the only way is if Drew Lock is really bad these next 4 games. They lose out and they have a top 5 pick and they have a chance to get Zach Wilson. Other than that, I think both will be back, to be honest. If Drew Lock is back, I don't think they fire Pat Shurmur, and I don't think they keep Pat Shurmur and bring in a new quarterback. So yeah, I mean, I would say it's either they're both back or they're both gone, to be honest. I mean, I guess I could see Drew Lock being back more likely, just because if they do draft a quarterback, they might go ahead and keep Drew Lock as a backup. But even then, I think you could get something for Drew Lock. So, they would do what kind of like Miami did with Josh Rosen. So at that point, then no, that Drew Lock probably wouldn't be here. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess there's the only other scenario is they fire Pat Shurmur, and they go and sign like a Matthew Stafford or a Matt Ryan or Jameis Winston, and then they keep Drew Lock as a backup. So I guess it's like 51% Drew Lock, 49% Pat Shurmur. I don't know.
Yeah, it would have to be Drew Lock. That's more likely to be here. Like you said, if it's in a competition role where they go out and get a veteran to come push him, I don't think the Broncos will be bad enough to draft a quarterback unless they trade it up. I mean, you never know. But I think they're ultimately going to win this game.
They got to lose
Sunday.
out. If they lose to the Panthers, they could very easily lose. Well, I mean, they got the Chargers, but
Well, that's what I was looking at. I mean, you got 4 games left. 2 of them are very winnable. They should win this game this week. Like, they should actually win this game because the Panthers are missing, I think, 2 wide receivers. It's unlikely that McCaffrey's going to play. He injured his quad this week after recovering from the shoulder last week. I think they're missing a couple linemen. I think they're down some defensive linemen as well. So this is definitely a winnable game. If the Broncos lose this game, 1, I'll be happy, but 2, that's embarrassing. Like, honestly, that is just flat out embarrassing. Like, Drew Lock literally should have his best game of the year this week. I don't see how he shouldn't have his best game of the year. But you have this game, you're gonna get completely your face stomped in by the Bills, most likely. Then you have the Chargers. That's a winnable game. The Raiders, I was just looking at their record right now is 7-5, and in the playoff race, they're currently out in terms of the wild
they're going to
card.
need that win.
So yeah, they're going to be playing for something. So it's not like they're going to rest their guys. Let's see, who do the Raiders have in their final few games here? So they have the Colts. That's a tough game. That's this week. They have the Chargers, so that's a winnable game. They have the Dolphins. That's going to be a tough game, and of course the Broncos. So there's 2 tough games in there mixed with 2 slappy teams. But I would think if you're the Raiders, you want to win at least 3 of your next 4 so you can secure, because right now they're sitting at 8, and the 2 teams that are in the wild card position are the Browns and the Dolphins. So if they beat the Dolphins,
they got to beat the Dolphins.
This is actually funny. So they play the Dolphins and the Colts, who both are ahead of them in the standings right now by 1 game. So they desperately need to beat those 2 teams.
Well, they need to beat one of the 2.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, obviously you want to beat both. Because
obviously,
if Cleveland somehow drops out and it's Indy and Miami and you lost to both of those teams, then you don't have a tiebreaker over them, or you don't have the game over them. Right. So yeah, so the Raiders aren't going to be resting guys. So for the Broncos, I mean, it's likely only 2 winnable games left, which sucks because that's going to put them at 6 and 10. You're probably at that point going to be drafting 12 through 15, maybe 11 through 15, which I doubt you're going to get a quarterback unless you take the Trey Lance guy. But I mean, you never know. I mean, we see crazy things happen in the draft where quarterbacks fall that you didn't expect to fall. So I just, if that happens, and I'll say this, and I know I've been on the train of fire everybody. I've been kind of thinking about this throughout the week. I think ultimately, given what the Broncos will likely do, they'll win at least 1 more game. I think most likely 2. At that point, just bring everybody back. Bring everybody back for another year. Pat Shurmur, so Drew Lock gets his consistency, and this team has the continuity that everybody complains about, and they swear that this is what they need. Oh, it's the continuity. I promise you. If you just give them continuity, okay, give them the continuity that they want. Bring back Pat Shurmur. Bring back Drew Lock. There's no excuses. You have Cortland Sutton back. Juwan James will be back. Hopefully he can play a full season there. And who knows what will happen with the defense and Justin Simmons and Von Miller. But for the most part, you'll have Bradley Chubb and those guys back as well. So then at that point, there's really no excuses. Vic will be going into his 3rd year, so he'll have 2 seasons under his belt. So hopefully we don't see timeout issues, time management issues, anything like that has plagued him. Hopefully he's not spending too much time watching the defense. Hopefully he's actually paying attention to the offense this time around. And then at that point, you're going into the final year of John Elway's deal. So then it's really a last hurrah. If they all can right the ship and turn it around, okay, great. You guys were right, we were wrong. But if it's another year of it's 6 to 8 wins, well then what are we doing? Regardless of what the Broncos do, I've said this before, they're not going to be good next year. They're not going to be competing for a playoff spot. At least I don't think. Unless somehow bringing everybody back is magically the answer, and I'm just stupid. Then okay, but I just see it as being unlikely. They're definitely not going to win a Super Bowl. They're definitely not going to make it to the AFC Championship game. So I just, at a certain point, you might as well just bring everybody back, given that the Broncos will most likely win 2 more games, and I'm curious to see where they're at. According to Tankathon, as we sit here today, they're still at 10. So
yeah, no, they have to lose out to get to the top 5.
Man, if they lost to Carolina this week, they could, and if Atlanta won, because I think Atlanta plays the Chargers this week,
yeah,
and Atlanta has that win over Denver already, like Denver could possibly fall to like 8.
Yeah, and then the NFC East
7.
teams are playing each other, so move up one of those teams. So yeah, I mean, they could if they were to lose out, they would be probably 4th. Because you're not gonna lose more than the Bengals, the Jets, and the Jaguars. So you can get as high as 4, I believe. Right now,
That would be a great scenario.
Because who's 4th right now?
4th right now, according to Tankathon, is the Dallas Cowboys at 3-9.
Okay, and they'll probably win at least one. Well, maybe not. Maybe
And
the
that's
highest
the
is you can get to is 5th. But hey,
Cincinnati's 2-9-1, so they only have 2 more wins or 2 less wins than the Broncos. Like from 3 to Denver at 10, it's only 2 and mostly 1 game. From Dallas to Denver, it's 1 game.
Yeah,
they're 3-9. Everybody else, Chargers 3-9, Philly 3-8-1, and you have Carolina, Atlanta, Houston, but that's going to Miami. But still, they're 4 wins. Denver's 4 wins. So like, there's still a lot of there's still time. We could still make this happen. We could still save the planet from this asteroid. I promise.
yeah, and like the only quarterback that I would take is Zach Wilson, because you're gonna lose out on Lawrence and Fields. So I don't know anything about Trey Lance. The only thing I know about Trey Lance is he plays at a really small school. I don't even know if they're Division 1 or not.
I think they're like they're not. I always get the FBS and is there FCS or something? Whatever.
Yeah.
It's the other one.
Yeah, isn't it the one where
it's still Division 1, but it's just not.
It's
not like the normal one.
Isn't it the one where Carson Wentz went to?
Yeah, he went to. He's at North Dakota State, I believe it is.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the only thing I know. I haven't seen any film on him. So yeah, I watched the other 3, and I think Zach Wilson's the best out of all 3.
Well, and here's my thing too. If it's not Trevor Lawrence, I should say, if it's not Trevor Lawrence,
I'm sorry, I'm not as high on Trevor Lawrence as everyone else.
Well,
now.
You're just loony for Looney Tunes.
I mean, he's gonna be a good quarterback, but Justin Fields and Zach Wilson, I think are really good.
If it's not Trevor Lawrence, or if Elway and company, like the cupboard isn't completely cleaned out, I don't want them taking a quarterback. The only quarterback I'd want them taking is Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I could get behind, like, if they took, Wilson or Justin Fields. Okay, fine, whatever. The one that gets me giddy though is Trevor Lawrence, because he's been there for a few years. He's got the college experience. He's won at the highest levels. He's beaten the Alabamas, and he plays at a great program in Clemson. So that's the one that I would want.
Yeah.
But if you don't get him, or you don't have everybody clean out, I don't even want the Broncos to touch a quarterback. There's just no point. I don't want them to.
Well, that's the thing. Even if they were to get Zach Wilson, I don't trust their team. They would break Zach Wilson. So
it's not so much that I would fear that they would break him, which I would, but I'm coming from the mindset of, if there's only 1 year left on John's deal, and say this team's bad next year, which they most likely will be, or average, then Fangio gets canned. His staff gets canned.
Right.
Elway's probably gone. What if you bring a whole new regime in that doesn't like that quarterback and they want to move on?
Right.
So then that's just a wasted draft pick in the top 5, likely, or top 10. So at that point, just draft BPA and take a player that you can use, whether it's an offensive lineman, whether it's a defensive lineman, a cornerback, which we know they need, a linebacker, whoever, whatever you can find, best player, whatever best players there that we can use. Take that guy, and then we'll go from there. That's just me, though. I would just rather them stay away from a quarterback unless they're going to clear house,
Right.
but that's probably unlikely to do. Going into this game, though, I mean, there's not much we can really break down. The Panthers are really depleted.
Mm-hmm.
Christian McCaffrey, like I said earlier, he's unlikely to play because of the quad issue, which sucks because, I mean, obviously his Colorado roots, you'd love to see him be out there and rush for 300 on the Broncos defense. I'm trying to think. I think Curtis Samuel is going to be out as well. Let's see. So it looks like their starting guard, I think this is their starting guard, Dennis Daly didn't practice. Defensive end. Well, I mean, these guys aren't. Okay, this doesn't tell me their COVID list. So, but I know that they're going to be down 2 wide receivers, and I think an offensive lineman. So either way, they're going to be pretty thin tomorrow, and I just don't see how the Broncos actually lose this game unless they can considerably go out of their way to try and lose this game. Like Drew Lock has to put up one of his patented 3-pick games and just sling it all over the yard off of his back foot. Otherwise, I mean, if this is a team that the Broncos should probably win somewhere around this, 24-10. I just don't see how they lose this game.
Yeah. This is a tough one. Just because I think Carolina's played pretty well these last 2 weeks. They shut out the Lions, and they lost to the Vikings by 1. Kirk Cousins had 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks though. Carolina's pretty good against the run. Their secondary is really their pass defense, I think, might be one of the worst in the league. But I mean, do you trust Drew Lock to take advantage of that? I mean, even Kirk Cousins could. But I mean, Kirk Cousins is better than Drew Lock, so I don't know. I'm still gonna pick Carolina. I don't.
Are you really?
Yeah, I because the thing is, I think Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback. I think he'll be able to get away from some pressure. I think it'll be a low scoring game, but at the end of the day, until Drew Lock proves it, I trust Teddy Bridgewater in this one, and they're at home. I'm going to,
okay.
In close games, in tight games, I usually go with the team who has a better quarterback and the home team.
Yeah, I just don't know how much the home field actually matters, but
Sure, but it still matters a little bit when you're traveling. So I'm going to take Carolina.
I'm curious to see, now that you said it, I'm curious to see what Carolina's defense is doing this year. So team defense.
They shut out the Lions 2 weeks ago.
I mean, is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Lions.
I mean, yeah, but the Lions have been putting up points, so I don't. It's not like Stafford didn't play.
Okay, they're 16th in team defense. In terms of, let's see, let me do total. How many total yards have they given up this year? Where are they when it comes to that?
They seem to be good against the run. Which if they can stop the run,
so 19th in total defense in terms of total yards that they've allowed this year. In terms of yards per game when it comes to pass defense, they are 19th, so lower third of the league there. A lower fourth, I guess, if you want to go by fours. Rush defense, they are... Where's Carolina here? 15th, so they're middle of the pack against the run. They gave up 115 yards, which I think the Broncos average around like 110 a game. So, I mean,
it's a close game. I think it's a close game. It comes down to
defense.
the last couple drives. Again, it depends. I think at the end of the day, what's going to decide this game is turnovers, because it's going to be a close game. Teddy Bridgewater takes care of the ball. Drew Lock does not. So
you got me there.
And it's going to come down to special teams and turnovers. In close games, and toss-up games, that's what it comes down to. It's usually 50-50. But Denver special teams has been really bad this year. And Drew Lock cannot take care of the ball. So Melvin Gordon might have a fumble. I mean, how can you... how can you trust a team on the road that has the worst turnover differential in the league? How can you trust them in a close game? In a game that's supposed to be close, in a toss-up game.
The only way I can trust them is with the other team's best players not playing.
Sure, but here's the thing: Christian McCaffrey hasn't played all season.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So,
but it helps that he's not playing. So.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Carolina's 4-8 without Christian McCaffrey, basically. So, they shut out the Lions 2 weeks ago, 20-0, without Christian McCaffrey. They lost by 1 to the Vikings last week without Christian McCaffrey. They're not a bad team. They're not the Jets. They're not Jacksonville. They're not Cincinnati. They're not a very good team. Yeah, but they're not. Look, the Broncos could barely beat the Jets. I don't think the Broncos are better than Carolina. I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see it on Sunday. Let's get to our picks since we're already there. You're going with Carolina. I'm begrudgingly going with the Denver Broncos. We both got the Rams right last night. I just didn't think the Patriots coming off a big win like that. Plus, I think, losing in the Super Bowl, I think Sean McVay and Jared Goff, I think they were waiting for that one. They wanted a do-over for that. And they did. They played really well. Houston versus Chicago. Chicago, again, one of those teams like Minnesota. I just absolutely loathe their existence. I don't like them. What is the... I can't imagine. I would assume Chicago's probably favored in this game since they're the home team.
I can't see any lines on ESPN. It's broken.
Nope. Yeah, there's nothing. I would assume Chicago's probably like a 2 or 3 point favorite.
Let me pull up one of these apps.
Gonna go to your secret gambling website. Gamblers Anonymous website. that you got a little Reddit group in there.
So Houston is favored by 1.5 points.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they? Wow. Yeah. I did not see that one coming. And the Bears have the better record.
Yeah, but the Bears have been really bad. I'm taking Houston.
Oh, let me look at the injury report. See, I wish they would tell you who's on the COVID list on these as well. Man, I keep forgetting Jimmy Graham is still playing in the league. Okay. He was limited. Danny Trevathan, miss him.
Oh, yeah, I'm taking Houston.
Khalil Mack did not participate in practice. That's all I needed to hear. I'm going to go Houston as well. They have the better quarterback. Houston's actually been playing decent. Not well, but decent since Bill O'Brien's been fired. So I think it's safe there, but I fully expect Chicago to have like a great game and win this one. I just hate choosing these NFC North games. Dallas versus Cincinnati. This is another weird one. I like Dallas here, though. I think they bounced back from last week. Cincinnati, again, I mean, Brandon Allen. Do you have trust, in Brandon Allen to get it done? I don't. I trust Andy Dalton going up against his former team. He wants to stick to these guys. I'm still the Red Rifle, baby.
I was gonna pick Cincinnati until you said that. I forgot Andy Dalton. Neither can put up points. Both have bad defenses. This is gonna
I'll give you 3 wins if you predict a tie correctly. That would be worth 3 wins. Go ahead, do it. Take your shot.
No, I don't think it's gonna be. I don't know. This is an ugly game. Dallas is favored by by 3.5. I feel like that's a lot. I'll take Dallas. I'll take Andy Dalton coming back to Cincinnati and playing well.
Suck it, Bengals. Green Bay versus Detroit. I don't think there's any argument here for Detroit.
No.
Kansas City for Miami. You on the Miami train here?
I think this is gonna be a good game, but I'll take Kansas City.
Arizona versus New York. This one's the Giants, by the way, not the Jets. This one's interesting to me because the Giants have been playing really well.
They've been playing great.
And Arizona's kind of come back down to earth a little bit.
The Giants are going to win that division.
Oh, well, yeah, by default.
I mean, they beat the Seahawks.
They still stay
in Seattle. Yeah, they've gotten a couple good wins.
Yeah, the Seattle one was shocking. Woof. Now
you play Russell Wilson's mini-me.
Did you, speaking of mini-me's, did you see that I retweeted it? Did you see the tweet?
Yes, yeah. I saw
of mini Kyler Murray and mini Tyreek Hill. And someone quote tweeted the Tyreek Hill one, and he was like, "Mom, I threw up." I was dying laughing. I saw that at like 1 a.m. I was hysterically laughing. I was like, I need more of these. I don't know how we can get more, but I need every player to be made miniature on the field. That is hilarious. I absolutely loved that. So the Cardinals are now 6-6. I think at one point they were like 6-3, 6-4, weren't they?
Yeah, they've fallen off. Their defense is pretty rough.
Yeah, the Giants are trending up. I don't know if I can trust Arizona. I'm gonna go the Giants. I'm gonna ride the wave.
I'll take Arizona.
I fully expect them to lose. Yes.
I'll take Arizona. Just because they need to win. The Giants don't need to win anymore. I mean, they do, but they don't. I'll take Arizona. I think Arizona's desperate.
Now we got Tampa Bay versus Minnesota. I fully expect Kirk Cousins to play the best game of his life and win this game. I'm still going to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I don't think there's ever been a team that I've hated more in the existence of history than the Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins. I just cannot figure them out. I just don't. If imagine this being a bettor and someone kidnapped you and they're like, your life is on the line. You have to bet on this one game. And you're like, all right, I'm confident. And they're like, Minnesota. And you're like, oh God, no, please, anybody, please give me the Flamingos and Real Madrid in badminton, please. Just give me that, not the Vikings.
Yeah, I would never bet on the Vikings.
Yeah, they're awful. I'm gonna go Tampa Bay here though.
Yeah, I'll go Tampa. Tampa needs some win.
Yeah,
they're only 7-5.
I don't know what they're doing, but they need to stop it.
There's a lot of 7-5, 8-4 teams in the league. Yep. It's crazy.
Yep. Tennessee versus Jacksonville. I don't think Jacksonville's going to put up much of a fight here. Although it's a division game, so you never know. Do it.
I'll pick Tennessee, but Jacksonville is a weird team. They've lost by 3, 2, 4, 2, 10. Like over the last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Over the last 5 games, 4 of them have been 4 points or less. That's That's like the definition.
Making it close.
That's the definition of tanking, by the way. Yeah. Like, okay, we have the lead. We should probably lose this thing.
Yeah, that's what you call finding ways to lose. They're like, within 1, watch this.
Right. But yeah, I'll take Tennessee because they need to bounce back. But yeah. By the way, told you Tennessee was fake.
When did I ever say they weren't?
I don't know.
We're real.
I'm just saying.
I've never bought Tennessee.
Everyone was on. I gladly won money on that one last week. I saw
Yeah, no,
that line.
Tennessee.
Tennessee was favored by like 5 points, 5.5. I was like, I will take Cleveland on that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they Cleveland, but Tennessee did come back at the end.
Well, I mean, I don't think Cleveland was like they were up by like 30.
Trying. Well, yeah, but still, they came back. Comeback's a comeback, almost. No, the Tennessees, the Baltimores, I think they're limited, and
Yeah.
come playoff time, you see that,
Yeah.
and shocker, it's just where they're at.
Well, I don't think
Which
Tennessee's that good of a team, to be
now
honest.
they're tied to Ryan Tannehill for like years, so
Right. Yeah, I
like
don't know why.
everybody outside of Tennessee was like, this probably isn't a good idea, and Tennessee's like, this is a good idea. And now it's not a good idea. So, because now they're going to be one of those meddling teams in the middle. They're going to be like 7 to 9 wins the next couple years, and you're going to have like great quarterbacks being able to be drafted, and they're going to be with Ryan Tannehill. But I mean, if they build a roster up around them, you've seen that they can go far. So maybe they continue to do that. Indy versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are desperate. Indy's, I think, at 8-4. This is a tough game.
Yeah.
The Raiders got blown out last week, didn't they? Or no, they won last week versus the Jets. They won that Hail Mary to Henry Ruggs, in which Greg Williams decided to blitz everybody. He's like, hear me out, blitz 8, cover with 3. Let's see how this works out. And it didn't work out. So, and then he got fired. So if that was him being like, watch this, I'm getting fired on Monday. Well, that got the job done, Greg. I think the Raiders desperately need this game. Like I said, Indy and the Dolphins are above the Raiders in the wild card standings. I think this is a must-win for the Raiders. And Indy's been kind of fluky. Like they win one week and then they'll lose another. I'm gonna go the Raiders here.
Wow. I'm gonna go Indy. I think Indy's just a better team.
All right, now we got Seattle versus the Jets. Unfortunately for the Jets, I think they're going to get Seattle's best. They're going to get the anger taken out on them for losing to the Giants last week. So it's not going to be fun for them. New Orleans versus Philly. Jalen Hurts' first game. No faith there. I'm going to go New Orleans. Do it. Do it. I dare you. I'll give you 5 wins if you predict this correctly. That's how confident I am. Look at that. I would give you 5 wins, plus if you predicted a tie, that would be 8 wins. You'd cut that thing in half.
You're really that confident that New Orleans wins?
Yes, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Outside of the quarterback, they're bad. I mean, they're great. You should totally pick them. They're doing well. They're trending up, honestly. Do it. Do it.
I'll do it.
Oh, you're...
I'll
no
pick the
take
Eagles.
backsies. No take backsies.
I don't believe in Taysom Hill.
Well, I don't either, but I believe in him much more than I do Jalen Hurts' first game in that Philadelphia Eagles.
I like Jalen Hurts.
Well, yeah, Jalen Hurts in college, not Jalen Hurts in the pros. We haven't seen Jalen Hurts play in the pros yet. Atlanta versus the Chargers. This is the epitome of the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. Neither of these teams can keep a lead.
Atlanta's been better, though.
Sure, but they still cannot keep a lead. These teams both find ways to lose. Like, these are the Sherlock Holmes of the NFL right here. These two teams. They pull out the magnifying glass. They're like, up 17. Watch this. Where can we lose today? Chargers just got blown off the earth last week. Anthony Lynn is coaching for his job, although I think it just doesn't really matter at this point. You know, he took over their special teams. That's how bad their special teams is. He had to take it over. Yeesh. That's like Broncos stuff right there. Even the Broncos are like, whoa, that's bad. I mean, you guys should fix that. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons here. I just think they're better. They still have a really great offense. That defense has been playing a little bit better. Not great, but a little bit better. I'm going to go with the Falcons.
Yeah, I'll go with the Falcons, too.
Washington versus San Francisco. Oof. This is a weird one. I don't like
I
this
guess
game
Washington. Well, I forgot about Washington being in that division. I think Washington wins that division. over the Giants. I don't know. I guess that would be close.
Both teams are 5-7. The Niners are weird. See, they're 5-7, but you're at least optimistic, I think, if you're a Niners fan. Like, you can actually chalk this up to be like, you know what, man, if we had our players, we'd be fine. Like, if we weren't completely killed with injuries and all that, like, they're at least still being competitive. Whereas, like, the Broncos are 4-8, and you're like,
Yeah.
team sucks. Even if we did have our players, I don't even know if we'd be good. We just suck. Alex Smith, did you see his leg like gushing with blood the other week?
Yeah.
I was like, is that not like a violation of some sort? Did he rupture an artery in his leg to have like his shoe was painted with blood? Like there was like streams of blood. I was like, maybe we should call timeout, cauterize the wound. Anybody? Like what happened? Did the rod in his leg, did it like poke out? Like what is happening here? That was frightening for me. Wanted to throw up a little bit. I should have sent it to you. Dang it.
I saw it.
Okay. I'm gonna go the 49ers. they're at home. Well, they're not at home actually. They're playing in Arizona.
That was the most.
I don't know. I honestly don't. Like the Washington defense has been playing well. Chase Young looks good. It's Nick Mullins. I'm gonna go the 49ers. I think the 49ers win this one.
I'll
Better
go,
play calling. I'm gonna go San Francisco.
I'll go Washington.
Riverboat Ron.
No,
All right.
I'm not going to tell you why.
What happened? now I'm curious. What happened? What did I miss?
Nothing.
Who got hurt?
No, nothing happened.
Who has diarrhea?
It's
Who-
just,
Did someone make the COVID list that I didn't know? What happened?
nothing.
Now I'm gonna do a deep dive. Now I will search San Francisco's. What do you see that I don't? Why?
I watched the game.
What game? The Monday night game?
The Washington game. Actually, I didn't watch it. It wasn't on TV. I've been watching Washington a couple of times, though. They're a good team.
That's weird. Oh, no, the record says otherwise. Pittsburgh versus
They had
Buffalo.
a rough start. And that's because they were starting
that's true.
Dwayne Haskins.
Pittsburgh got their loss a little earlier than I thought they would. I thought this was the week that they get their loss. They feel like a team that's just
Washington's
kind
a
of
good team.
Yeah, well, okay. They're not that good. Pittsburgh was off a short week. They had like 5 days.
Pittsburgh's not a very good team. Well, I mean they're good, but they're not.
They're good. They're not like a
they're sure as
contender.
hell not 11-1 team.
No, they're more like an 8-win team.
Yeah,
I mean, the Broncos almost beat them. If Jeff Driscoll, finds the open receiver, they probably win that game. I'm gonna go Buffalo here. I think Pittsburgh is kind of reeling a little bit. They have had an issue with drops the past week, to where Mike Tomlin goes on to each presser and calls everybody out that drops the football, or he's calling his team out. Says if guys don't catch the ball, we'll get people in there who can catch the ball. It's like, ooh, all right. So yeah, I'm going Buffalo here.
Yeah, I'll take Buffalo. It'll be a fun game though. Buffalo's really good. I think. Who, out of was that the last game?
No. Well, I mean, we could wait till Monday to pick Baltimore, Cleveland. So.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yes.
Out of the for the AFC, what are the teams that you think can beat the Chiefs?
No one.
Okay, who's gonna give them the best game?
No one. Nobody will. They're all gonna lose by 10+. I mean, I think Buffalo will make it close for a quarter, but nobody.
I don't think Buffalo. I'll say this. I don't think they can beat them, because I don't think, like you, I don't think anyone can beat Kansas City. But I think the toughest game for Kansas City will be Cleveland.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
What? They will. Cleveland has a great defense. They run the ball. And here's the thing. Kansas City doesn't get pressure on the quarterback. Not really. So if you're giving Baker time back there, he's fine. It's usually when he gets pressured that he kind of falls apart. So if you're giving him a clean pocket and they can run the ball, because look, Kansas City's defense isn't that good. So yeah, I think that's matchup wise. I think that is the toughest. That's going to be the toughest game for them. I don't think Buffalo matches up well against Kansas City. I'm not saying that Cleveland's the second best team in the AFC. I'm just saying it's a
Right.
it's a good match.
You're not saying that they would beat them, but that they would be the
No,
toughest matchup.
no. Because I would say the second best overall team might be Buffalo, but I don't like Buffalo's defense. I think Kansas City would go up and down all over Buffalo's defense, and Josh Allen would make just one extra mistake over Mahomes. Well, probably a few. So I just don't think that's a good matchup. Tennessee, their defense is bad. Miami's defense is good. I just don't think I don't trust Tua.
Their offense is bad.
Yeah, I don't trust Tua in his rookie year. They can't run the ball either. I mean, Cleveland has probably a top 3 running back in the league. So that's the only reason why I say I think Cleveland is the toughest matchup. Pittsburgh's offense is a mess. They can't run the ball. Their defense, they've lost a lot of guys on the defensive end. So I think right now they're healthy and they can run the ball. They have a great defense. And when Baker is clean, he's really good. I think Cleveland's the one team that can make Kansas City actually work for it. At least in the AFC.
Imagine that happens. Cleveland meets up with Kansas City and they beat them in the playoffs. It's like the hero we didn't want, but the hero that we needed.
You know what's going to happen?
Hmm.
We're going to have Kansas City, Cleveland in the AFC Championship game, and Mahomes is going to go down on a 98-yard drive and beat them.
Yeah, that would be depressing. But if Baker did beat them, he would earn a spot on my hero list right next to Nick Foles and Eli. Yeah,
I mean, if Cleveland got to the Super Bowl, that would be
that would be peak 2020.
Well, it wouldn't be in 2020 though.
Well, but it would be 2020 leading into 20. Like everybody would be like, "You guys remember 2020, the worst year ever?" Like, yes, the Cleveland Browns made the Super Bowl from that season. Like that's how you know everything was awful.
But here's the thing: the Cleveland Browns remind me a little bit of that 2015 Broncos team. I think a better offense, a little bit, just because they have Chubb. But I mean, that's a hell of a defense. I don't know if their defense is as good. It's not as good as that 2015 Broncos team, but the way they win games, it's a lot like that team.
Kemp said the drive part 3. Goodness, that would be depressing. Imagine Cleveland, like you're winning. Baker leads you to a touchdown. There's only 45 seconds. You're like, yeah, Mahomes can't come back from this. And then he throws a 70-yard bomb for a touchdown to Tyreek Hill. And you're like,
yep.
All right, there goes that. It doesn't even have to be the drive. It's just it was just the roundabout. All right. Well, looks like we're all turning off the TV now. At least we didn't have to drive all the way home from the stadium.
Or Cleveland gets to the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. People are picking Cleveland to upset, and they get blown out 52-0.
That's probably the more likely.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
but okay, I mean, out of all the teams, do you agree? Is it Cleveland or is there another team I'm missing?
I absolutely disagree. I think it's the Buffalo Bills. I think that's the only team.
I don't. But look, Buffalo's defense, I think, is trash.
They've been playing a little bit better, but I just think they have. I think Josh Allen's a little bit more of a
Buffalo
weapon
and
Cleveland
than meet, Cleveland beats Buffalo.
Wait, say that again?
I think if Buffalo and Cleveland meet in the playoffs, Cleveland wins.
Okay. See, now you lost me. I'm done talking to you about this subject. Now you lost me. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm not doing this. I don't know what kind of vendetta you have against all of us for making fun of you for picking Cleveland like 7 years too early to make the playoffs, but I don't like it, and it's unfair.
They missed playoffs by 1 game.
I just don't.
And they're a good team this year. They are. They're a really good team.
A respectable opponent. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Baker is great, but you know.
I just think Josh Allen's more of a threat, running and throwing. I think that offense is a little bit more dangerous with Stephon Diggs. But Cleveland does have a great running game. I mean, Kareem Hunt. Yeah, you don't think Kareem Hunt would like to, stick it to his old team?
Mhm.
Nick Chubb.
I
Defense
think
is really
the
good.
way Cleveland plays can beat teams like Buffalo. The reason why they crushed Tennessee. I think I don't know. Have they played Pittsburgh at all this year? I don't
Cleveland.
know. Yeah, I'm
They
pretty
play
sure,
him
right?
twice a year.
Well, I know. Have they already played? Oh yeah, okay. So they lost to Pittsburgh 38-7. And then they played Pittsburgh in
Woof.
yeah, in the last game. So I don't know. I think, when it comes down to playoffs, just like the NBA, it's based off matchups and health. If you're healthy, I think you have a chance. That's what we said with the Broncos team. I mean, the reason why Denver won that Super Bowl, or at least got there, was because they were the most healthy team in the AFC at that time. New England had missing guys on defense. I think Pittsburgh would have beat them if they had Antonio Brown and Bell, because
they didn't have
remember,
those guys.
both of them were out. And the one guy that torched that defense all year long was Antonio Brown.
Yep. I was watching the highlights last night of that 2015 defense because Darian Stewart retired yesterday.
Right,
So I was watching the highlights and I watched like a 12-minute video. Probably was crying. I'm not going to disclose any information. But did you know that the Broncos were up 17 in that Pittsburgh game?
Mm-hmm.
They were up 27-10.
Yeah, I was at that game. No, Pittsburgh couldn't score.
No, not the playoff game. The regular season game. I was like, wait, you went to Pittsburgh to watch the game? No, they were up against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh 17. They were up 27-10, and then they ended up losing that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that. Yeah, no, they the playoff game, they were up by they were up pretty big. But it didn't feel like a lot. It was like, and then Pittsburgh I think they scored one more time, and then it came down to like a one possession game. But
it always happened with that Broncos team.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is that the one, you have to be, the one thing is you have to be healthy, and it's based off of matchups. Mm-hmm. Even in the Super Bowl, Denver had a good matchup against Carolina. So, and that's why I that year was crazy, because I remember before the season, I picked Denver and Seattle to make it to the Super Bowl. And then I think me and Anthony were the only ones to pick Denver to beat Carolina.
Yeah, I didn't pick them to beat Carolina.
Or I might have been the only one. It was just it's all about matchups. I think Cleveland matches up well against Kansas City. I don't think that they're good enough to beat them, but because I think Kansas City is just they're probably the best team since, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I feel like they should be undefeated. Like, this was, if they were ever going to go undefeated, this was the year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, they're definitely beatable. And Kemp says, I love how you're mentioning two teams with two QBs that are in Super Bowl talks, and the Broncos could have drafted one of them, but didn't. Yeah. It's just.
Well, they couldn't draft Baker.
Well, they could have drafted Josh Allen. I guess they couldn't have drafted Patrick Mahomes.
No.
What could have been? Who would have been my favorite 15, Patrick Mahomes or Jokic? Oh, man. A guy could
Honestly,
dream.
I'm not going to lie. Patrick Mahomes is my favorite player in the NFL. He's amazing. I love watching him.
I can't even hate you for that, because
I look forward to watching Kansas City games.
It's like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, it really is.
I hate myself for liking it. It's like I feel like I need to go punish myself. Not in a weird way.
And they're just like they're fun to watch, but I like Tyreek Hill's antics, the backflip into the end zone.
Yeah,
I love that. I think that's hilarious.
I can't wait for him to retire. I can't wait for him and Kelsey to retire. Please just leave. Please go. Please just go. He's so fast. It's not fair. He's just so fast. No one can run with him. Speaking of the Broncos, Panthers linebacker Shaq Thompson, wide receiver Curtis Samuel, and defensive tackle Derek Brown have all been activated and are practicing Friday. So looks like they will be having some players back.
Well,
so
there you go. There's my
Carolina. Now I'm reconsidering.
Hey, that's good. As long as Denver loses, I'm happy.
So, all right. Well, we don't have enough time to get through the NBA stuff we wanted to get to.
We can do a bonus episode tomorrow.
Yeah,
Preview the
we could
Nuggets
probably
game.
do that. Because we still need to get to this Nuggets preseason game. They take on the Golden State Warriors. What expectations should look like for this team? And I don't listen.
I
A
can't
lot
believe
of
everything's starting. It's
I know it's
exciting.
crazy, but there's been a lot of buzz from Michael Malone about Campazzo, the guy that they got from Spain. He likes his defense, even though he's 5'11". Of course, leave it to Michael Malone to praise the guy's defense.
So we definitely need to go over. We need to do this tomorrow because there's a lot to talk about this team. The Monte Morris signing, I don't know what's going on. I don't get it because all this talk about Campazzo, and now you sign Morris to a 3. I mean, it wasn't even 10 mil, so it's not a bad contract. It's just
Well, yeah, I think people confuse like shock, like, oh, you don't like Monte. Like, I love Monte.
I
like,
love Monte, but there's no
keeping Monte.
Here's the
but
thing.
It just makes things more confusing.
Well, up until that point, if you were to tell me that morning, hey, they're gonna let Monte Morris go, I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense because you bring in Campazzo, you have PJ Dozier, who you really like, and then of all things, your first round pick is a point guard. So you're telling me you're not gonna keep Monte Morris? You've been telling me that for the last year. So what's
I forgot where
why?
I read it. It might have been from Ryan Blackburn, our guy that we have on. I think he was saying that RJ profiles to be more of a 2 than a traditional point guard.
I could see that. I'm telling you, I think RJ Hampton, that he is. Unfortunately, he might not play this year unless there's injuries. But my goodness,
yeah, no, he's not seeing minutes unless it's a blowout.
He is so good, so good. One day, I'm telling you, it's gonna be Murray, Hampton, MPJ, whoever at the 4, and Jokic at the 5. That's going to be a starting lineup one day because RJ Hampton can play.
Well, it'll have to be like within the next year or two because contracts are running out here soon. Did you see Doris Burke? She was on Adrian Wojnarowski's podcast, and he asked her, and this was unprompted, and like she answered right away. He said, "What team, if there's any NBA team, what team right now has you the most intrigued, excited, whatever the case is?" And without hesitation, she said the Denver Nuggets. Yeah. And she said, we saw what Murray did. At the time they gave him the extension, and there were some
Murray
questions
has a
about
chance
that.
to become there's a scenario where I could see Jamal Murray being a top 10 player in the NBA after the season. That is a scenario. If Damian Lillard is in that top 10 list, I could see Jamal being in that top 10 list. Now if Dame is out of that top 10, then fine. But I think at the end of the year, there's a scenario. I'm not saying I think it's gonna happen. There's a scenario where we are saying Jamal Murray is just as good as Dame, if not better. Maybe not as good of a deep 3 type of shooter, but as good of a player. And I honestly think Jamal's more clutch too. But
I mean, listen, I tweeted this out. The Denver Nuggets have 3 of the toughest shot makers on one team.
Yeah.
Not only toughest shot makers, but toughest shot makers in crunch time. We've seen MPJ do it in that game in Indiana. I mean, he's come down and hit big shots in the playoffs. We know what Murray can do. Murray can hit it from anywhere. I swear to you, Jamal Murray passes up open shots so he can take a contested 37-foot shot. Yeah, I swear to you, he does that.
I love that though. I think that's awesome.
Well, and I was watching too last night. I was watching it was a great night last night. I watched the Broncos 2015 highlights, and then I saw Harrison Wynn tweet out the last 5 minutes of Game 7 of the Clippers game, and I was like, play, yes, of course. And Jamal hits a 3-pointer on running to the right. He has to chuck it up because there's the shot clock's dwindling down. Mm-hmm. He chucks it up off balance. He's not squared up, and it's over Kawhi, and he knocks it in. And I'm like, my God. Like, that is nuts. And then you have Jokic, who I just love how weird he is. And I know it just frustrates these top tier elite athletes because he's like an octopus when he runs down the court. Like, he doesn't have control of anything. They're just flailing around. and then he's so composed, and he just tosses up a shot that could, hover over the Empire State Building, and it's just net every time. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
But the Nuggets have 3 of the best tough shot makers on one team. And that's kind of what Doris Burke was saying. She's like, I know, Jamal Murray, there's questions with his extension, but then he really proved his worth in the playoffs. And I agree, even though I still just want to see him do it for a year.
Yeah.
I just want to see it for a full season.
Yeah.
I know he has it. Just give me 22
and traveling
7 and 4.
And traveling too, because I think in the
Yes.
bubble it helped a lot of players.
Right. Give me 20. He doesn't have to average 25. He doesn't have to average 28. Give me like 22 7 and 4.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
If you give me that, boom, I'm I'm 90% there with Jamal. Like I want to be there. I know he has it. With Jokic, he's not fat, so that's a plus.
Did you see him dunking?
I'm telling you,
he's gonna dunk on someone this year.
If he puts somebody in a poster,
you're buying
I
it.
might die. I might die. Like, I just might die. I will die of just overjoyment. That's not a word, but I will die probably. I saw him dunk yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, mama, that vertical is now 3 inches from 1 inch." He dropped 74 pounds, so now those joints aren't as weighed down anymore. He's got some spring to those Serbian steps. Oh man, I'm so excited. But again, like Doris Burke and all she's saying, and she praises Jamal. She's like, we know what Jokic is going to bring, but she was like, the guy I'm super. And she mentioned Bobo too. She's like, I'm super excited to see what he can bring.
Oof.
Right. And she's like, I've seen what they put out from practice on him, and I'm reading the local guys. Is he a real player? But she's like, the guy that have my eye on is MPJ. She's like, when we were in the bubble and he came down against the Lakers and he stuck a 3 in LeBron's face, she was like, I was like, holy bleep. She was like, that guy just did that to LeBron. She was like, whoa. So this team, I think you can make an argument. Now, they might not be as good as they were last year record-wise, and they might not even get to the same point. But I honestly think we're going to look back at Jeremy Grant leaving as probably the best thing to happen to this team.
Well, what's interesting, and I think I started to say it, I don't know if I actually believed it completely, but I really believe it now. His rebounding was a red flag. That was the ultimate red flag for me when he was great in the playoffs, but his rebounding drove me nuts. You can't be that tall and play those positions and get 3 rebounds a game. I think they're much better off without him. Detroit is going to play him a lot at the 3, which I think is fine. I think he can be a 3-and-D type of player, like a Jay Crowder type of guy. But the JaMychal Green pickup fits really well with this team. It makes a lot of sense. I think he fits with the other starters, and they don't. I think defensively, I don't think they're going to be as good of a team, but I think they're going to be a great offensive team this year, and that's something that they haven't been a great offensive team the last few years.
Right. Well, I mean,
they were great.
The 57 win year, they were really good.
Yeah, but there was still times where they haven't really been able to shoot the 3. I think this year they're going to be able to shoot the 3 really well. JaMychal Green shoots nearly 40% from 3. I think that he'll be hitting 40%, honestly. With Paul Millsap not playing that much, I think that's a perfect role for him. He can be kind of that corner 3 type of guy. With Will Barton back, I think they should start Will at the 2. And MPJ at the 3, and bring Gary off the bench if you want to go more of an offensive type. And like Will is a good defensive player too. I'm excited to see what he does this year. I'm excited. I think this team, if MPJ it's all on MPJ, but I think this is a better team than last year. It's all on MPJ though, because I think the JaMychal Green is going to shock a lot of people. I think he's a really good player.
Maybe.
I think he is exactly what they needed.
I think this team's has the potential to be more dangerous offensively than last year's team. I don't know if they'll be if we're going strictly off record, I don't know if they'll be better in that aspect, and I don't know. They're obviously not going to be as good defensively, but I just feel like this is kind of what they needed to happen. They needed Jeremy Grant to leave because now it really does force Mike Malone, even though he likes to play silly games and not just crown MPJ the starter. Fine, make him
think
work
about
for
it.
I
Torrey
guess.
Craig, Jeremy Grant, and Mason Plumlee are all gone now. So now you are forced to play more of the offensive heavy guys, the Bulls, MPJ, just better shooters, just better scorers in general. I think this is going to be a very, very fun year for Denver.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. It all gets started tomorrow, and there's so many more storylines we weren't able to get to today and that we can do tomorrow and just kind of break down the game as they will tip off versus the Warriors. I like what Kemp said, Sombor Shuffle. Nah, the Sombor Slam. Put it on a t-shirt, Kemp. Let's go. I'd buy it. That's going to do it for us today. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll have a special episode for you tomorrow to break down the Nuggets game and expectations and all that. We can even go through starting lineups. Our guy Ryan Blackburn put out a projected starting lineups list where he gave out different lineups, what those lineups would offer, so we could break that down and see which would be the best fit. I think I know where I want to go, and you kind of mentioned yours, but we'll talk through that all tomorrow. But we thank you guys for tuning in. We're inching closer and closer to 1,000 plays, so I mean, keep listening if you guys can. We appreciate all you guys that have listened and hit play even for 1 second, even if it is to hear Brandon talk about how he wants to trade Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson or how he thinks the Browns are better than the Chiefs. Like, I know you have to bear through with what he says.
Okay,
you come for me, and you leave for him.
That was nothing but lies.
It's partially true.
That's nothing but lies.
Most of it was true. It was about 75% the truth. And, if we're about 75% there, then it's practically the truth at that point. So, I mean, there's no really disputing it at that point. All right, you guys have a great weekend. We will catch you guys tomorrow. For Brandon Stoll on the other side, I am Stephen Priest Jr. This has been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast.